Yeah, forget about the one from the 90s. There's a new Tino in town. Tino Livramento, as we all expected, has joined the toon. He didn't show up in a winter coat in the snow, this Tino, though. And it is being reported that the Colombian Tino actually rocked up for his photo shoot a little bit unhappy that his name had been taken away from the Geordies' mouths because there was a new Tino in town, Mr. Asprilla, all the way from Colombia, was not best pleased. So, we've got a new fullback who can operate at both right back and left back in town. Is he going to be an understudy to Kieran Trippier at right back, or is Eddie Howe thinking of throwing this very, very talented prospect, an expensive prospect, in from the start? There's lots to talk about on this video, Newcastle fans, so do us a favour and make sure you stick around. Welcome back to Black and White Banter, you lovely Newcastle fans. I hope all is well in the world of Newcastle fans, knowing that Eddie Howe's Mags are back in Premier League action in what is 3.5 days as I make this video. I'm certainly in a good mood, and so should you be. Competitive football and St James's Park competitive football is back. I did actually have another video recorded that I was about to post until Mr. Livramento was confirmed, talking about what we've learned from pre-season. So that will be coming probably in the next 24 hours after this one, because that's already there sitting in the video tank. So if you are curious about any videos that might be coming up and you like this one, do us a favour, Newcastle fans. Whack the subscribe button, and if you're already new, if you're not new, sorry, or if you are new, maybe you were trying to find a more glorified Newcastle YouTuber and you stuck with me, give us a little like anyway. I might warm on you. So, as I mentioned at the start of this video, there is more transfer news to discuss. Not shocking transfer news by any means. Mr. Livramento has been a waiting game for that confirmation, that photo of him holding the shirt for about 4 days now. He watched both friendlies over the weekend and he is finally confirmed as a Newcastle player. It's looking like around £32 million plus £5 million in add-ons, so a total of 37, because I know my maths. So it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, but it's a 20-year-old, and that is a very, very good age for a young English prospect. Yes, that's right, the name might not suggest that he is, but Tino Livramento is actually English. And that's always not going to add on a bit of money in this man's case, because he's not that highly wanted by all teams in England, or, you know, hasn't been lighting football up more recently because of injuries, which we'll talk about later in this video, but it certainly adds a little bit on. But it's also nice to hear of us going after English players. It really, really is. And of course, it's nice to have a new Tino in town. Of course it is. Of course it is. I can just squint. November, Champions League, Newcastle, Barcelona in the group stages, which could happen. Injuries have ravaged the team, and Tino Livramento is forced to play up front. There's only one man for the job. Hat-trick. And he totally wipes out the good that Asprilla did. Hey, who knows? It could happen. It could happen. Right, let's just get into this guy. And I said on previous videos that I was going to do some research myself. We all watch Southampton. We've all watched Southampton, should I say. But none of us Newcastle fans are going to claim to watch Southampton week in, week out. Any Premier League team, and maybe I'm wrong on this, let me know. Most Premier League teams, you watch them when they are on the telly, or when you are, you know, lazing around in your pants on a Sunday or a Saturday afternoon, and you're watching back-to-back games, maybe with your dodgy stick. If I'm allowed to say dodgy stick on YouTube. I don't have one. I do not have one. But yeah, we don't know that much about him, watching him week in, week out. So again, as I always am, I was quite curious to learn a little bit more about Tino Livramento and why Eddie Howe wanted him so much for that price tag. So, let's talk about his strengths. Well, first and foremost, positioning-wise, we know he's predominantly a right back. But he has also played at left back, and he is capable of playing there. He's actually spent some of his earlier career in development as a winger, and that's why this guy is coming in as a very, very much attack-minded fullback. And what I mean by attack-minded fullback is essentially the modern-day wing-back. I don't necessarily put Trippier into the wing-back category just because I still see Trippier as a traditional defender. Maybe that's because Newcastle currently play a 4 at the back. So he's not adopted as a wing-back necessarily with 3 centre-backs. But he still does like to get forward and support Almira on every opportunity. Of course he does. But Livramento is in every bit, way, shape and form as the youngster he is. And of course he can develop into a different style player. An attack-minded left or right back. And why is that? And what are his strong points? So Livramento, one of his first strong points is his pace. He loves to get forward at every opportunity and he likes to take a man on with his pace. Livramento is a player who can be found very often trying to knock the ball past other players and bombing on and beating them that way. He's not shy to do that. Now, dribbling-wise, with regards to taking players on, he's not as strong. Dribbling the football at his feet isn't one of his stronger points. But we are here to talk about his strong points right now. We'll get onto his weaknesses in a second. And it's that pace, but it's also the engine. And this is the one that fascinates me. Tino Livramento's athleticism is absolutely fantastic. His endurance, his ability to make the ground up when he does bomb forward. And that does not surprise me, nor should it surprise any Newcastle fan, that Eddie Howe has wanted to sign a player with a good engine on him. It's a theme. We attack as a team, we defend as a team. And if Eddie Howe is going to bring in the correct fullback to support the attack and support the winger and support the first 3 and the last 3 of our formation that we like to play under Mr. Howe, you've got to have a good engine on you. You've got to be able to be as far forward as you like, creating things and bombing on and overlapping your winger. But also it's very important in this Premier League with the style that other teams like to play, counter-attacking styles, the pace of the Premier League, that player is capable of getting back. And it's very interesting to hear that Livramento's stronger point is his engine. And I love to hear that. I really, really do. And just talking about how much he likes to attack, at one point in the Southampton, the last season that he played, which was the 21-22 season. So for anyone who doesn't know, Tino Livramento got an ACL injury and he was actually out for 392 days of football. Just over a year of no football. That is an awful injury and he's had to go through that pretty much in the last season. He only came back in, I think it was April of last year, just as Southampton were pretty much done and dusted. So we look back to the 21-22 season when he made 28 appearances in the Premier League. That's where we get most of our stats from. At one point in that season, Livramento was the most fouled player in the Southampton side. More than Che Adams, more than Ward-Prowse, he was the most fouled. And the reason that is because of how much he likes to bomb forward. Ralph Hasenhüttl, the Southampton manager at the time, he actually came out and said he's a very talented boy and at every opportunity he wants him to get forward because he's that good in the final third as well as defending, and he's obviously capable of getting back. So to be dealing with a defender who's actually at one point one of the most fouled players in a team tells you everything you need to know about what we will be getting in this player. He loves to get forward and I hope that appeals to every Newcastle fan's ears as much as it does mine. Now, weaknesses. I've already mentioned his dribbling. Aerially, he's not the greatest. So he's only 5'8", which, isn't the shortest. It's a bit shorter than me, but it's not ideal, and it doesn't really match what we have in other areas. And obviously, Dan Burn has been playing left back as one of our full backs, and he's a different kettle of fish. But generally speaking, we have a tall defence. So aerially, he's not brilliant. He's crossing. He's very, very much a cut-it-back kind of fullback, and that's how far he likes to get forward. When his crosses are a little bit further out, his cross accuracy is not great. So that's an area of his game that he needs to work on. But can I just say, when talking about this player's weaknesses, this guy is 20 years old and has already suffered a serious injury that's had him out for a year. So to say that Eddie Howe is going to mould him is an understatement. We're just talking about the foundations of what make him the £32 million player that Eddie Howe so desperately wanted. This guy can be moulded into an all-rounder. So with weaknesses, we have to take those with a pinch of salt. We also have to take into a pinch of salt. All of these stats I'm throwing at you are based more off the 21-22 season, not off the last year when he hasn't really played. So just bear that in mind. So I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, right, he's pretty solid defensively. Obviously, there can be some work done there. He loves to get forward, but he also has the engine to get back. He likes to support the attack. He's okay at taking a man on. He's got pace, and that's lovely to hear, because if there's one thing I've been talking about for a long time on videos, it's that our Newcastle defence does not have pace. So where does Eddie Howe see him fitting into this team? That's got to be the next big question, because so many people are talking about this guy as an understudy to Kieran Trippier. And I've got to be totally honest with you, the more I look into the man and analyse him and research the player, I don't necessarily agree with that. And I think for Eddie Howe to go out and spend a large proportion of his transfer budget on an understudy to his captain, something doesn't sit right with me with that one, and I don't necessarily agree. So I do believe that Eddie Howe is looking to bring Tino Livramento in as our left back in the short term. I really, really do, because all of those things I've just talked about are exactly the balance that we don't have on the left side of the pitch. Bombing forward at every opportunity, supporting the attack, getting crosses into the box, looking to get involved with a shot, also being able to get back just as fast, but also offering that crazy pace. We don't have that in Dan Burn. We don't have that in Matt Targett. And that's an imbalance, because you look at the other side, Kieran Trippier is supporting Almiron at every opportunity. And look at Trippier's conversion rate and his chances created. I think in fantasy football, he was the player you had to have in your defence, Trippier, because his stats were that good. I think he might have made fantasy team of the year. So there's an imbalance there in the team. I know it, you know it. Bloody Dave, who can't even barely see out one eye anymore in level 7, he knows it. Everybody knows that we have an imbalance. So I think that Eddie Howe is looking to bring this guy in at left back, mould him on. You've got Dan Burn and Matt Targett there as well to compete for that position, and he will be learning from Trippier all the time with an eventual view for him to replace Trippier, who's no spring chicken. That's my opinion. Now, let's compare him to other players. Now, again, I've done stat comparisons. You have to do Livramento's stats from the 21-22 season to Newcastle players' stats from either last season or the season before. So Livramento against Matt Targett, I've just got it in front of me now. Very, very similar stats. I was actually surprised to see that Matt Targett came out a lot stronger in a lot of the attacking stats here. So Matt Targett, when he played in the season that we stayed up, Eddie Howe's first season, maybe he got forward a little bit more than what I expected to see. But generally speaking, Livramento's stats against Matt Targett, played 10 less matches, are pretty solid. They are pretty solid indeed. And if I just flick down to some of them, chances created, he's only one short. Pass completion, he's higher than Matt Targett. Yeah, I'm not going to bore you with all them, because I might not be able to put them in front of you on this video. But against Matt Targett, pretty solid. Now, if you compare Livramento's stats from the 21-22 to Kieran Trippier last year, obviously Trippier comes out a lot bigger on top. That's not what I was expecting to see. But what I was interested to see from the stats is that Livramento's attacking stats are very, very high and close to, in comparison with less games played, to Kieran Trippier. And that just moulds into everything I've just talked about with regards to what sort of attacking left back we are getting here. Now, there's going to be a bedding in process. This man has just signed officially on the dotted line, I believe, yesterday, which is Monday for the purposes of this video. We play Aston Villa on Saturday. Would I expect to see Livramento make the bench? Possibly. But he's not going to be thrown in from the start unless he does something amazing in training and proves to Eddie Howe he's up to speed, but also can adapt into this philosophy. I don't see it. But one final point I'd like to make. If anyone in the US pre-season tour noticed, Eddie Howe adopted a 3 centre-back change in formation. He did it a couple of times in the pre-season tour. He experimented. And I'm looking at how Livramento likes to get forward as a wing-back. And we all know how Trippier likes to get forward. I wonder whether Livramento was always part of Eddie Howe's thinking as a 3 at the back, change in formation with 2 wing-backs who are both capable of getting back into position when they support the attack. Watch this space, Newcastle fans, because Eddie Howe was not tinkering with that formation just for the fucking hell of it. And I found that really, really fascinating. But all of these formation changes and Livramento in this team, I don't expect to see overnight. It is going to be a bedding in process. But this guy is exciting. And 20 years old, already to have played 28 games the season before last and 6 matches. So over 13 Premier League games for a Premier League side is not a bad rate at all. He's come through the Chelsea development, so he's been surrounded by very, very top talent in his youth. And we are getting a good player here. We are getting a hot prospect that I know from reading comments that Southampton fans are sad to get rid of. So I'm all for it. We needed this, and I do think he's going to be adopted as a left-back. Wouldn't it be nice now for us to get a centre-back in with some pace? Wouldn't it be nice to maybe get a backup striker in? Wouldn't it be nice to get a central Roman attacking midfielder in? Of course it would, but I don't think some of these transfers are going to happen now. But Newcastle fans, I've talked about Livramento in enough detail now. I would have liked to have given you more stats like I've done on previous videos, but because of his injury, it's very, very difficult to compare. And that's why I haven't bogged you down too much with stat comparisons to our current players. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think this guy is coming in as an understudy to Trippier, or do you think, like me, Eddie Howe is looking to play him a little bit sooner in that left-back position, where I don't think we have the balance that we have on one side that suits Eddie Howe's formation at all? Please let me know in the comments, and if you know more about Livramento from watching him play than me, please let me know. That would be lovely. Newcastle fans, thank you very much for watching. Give us a like, give us a little cheeky subscribe, and there will be a video coming on things that I think we have learned from our full pre-season tour. That'll be coming in the next 24 hours, so hopefully you don't want to miss that. I'll see you on the next video, but Tino is a Geordie, and it's not the mad Colombian scoring hat-trick against Barcelona. It's the English kid from Southampton. Welcome to the tune, Tino. How are the lads?